Hello, many thanks for joining us on News Hour at 2. My name is Sani Abdurrahman. We start from the education sector because public universities in the country are facing a possible shutdown if the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG, does not call off its strike before Friday, March 4, 2022. This was reiterated by President of the University of Ghana chapter of UTAG, Dr. Samuel Nkumban, in an interview with GBC News. The rules governing public universities state that institutions are to close down after 21 days of non-academic activity. UTAG says discussions are at a standstill with government. Now, this follows several appeals by the Vice-Chancellors of Ghana and the Minister of Education for UTAG to return to lecture halls while negotiations continue. Dr. Nkuban spoke to GBC News' Nathaniel Nate in an earlier interview.
I must say that we are at a standstill at the moment, except, of course, that Vice-Chancellor met UTAG, at which, of course, the appeal was for UTAG to reconsider its position while they try to kind of intervene or to mediate between UTAG and government to see how these issues are resolved amicably. Similarly, the Minister of Education, who happens to be our sector minister, also invited UTAG, and it was the same kind of conversation in terms of appealing to UTAG to return, whilst they also take steps to engage the side of government on how we could possibly resolve these issues. And since then, nothing new has happened.
What is UTAG's response to the Vice-Chancellors of Ghana and the Minister of Education for the members to return to the classrooms while negotiations go on?
For us, I think we've gotten to the point where those kinds of verbal assurances or signing even MOAs no longer appeal to us, except, of course, that our demands have been very clearly stated, and we expect that government would respond favorably, that we are able to meet you with this demand at this point, and then we can consider what government is offering. But as of now, there is nothing on the table to be considered by UTAG. Well, most likely, because if between today and Thursday, when we are going to court, nothing happens, impliedly Friday is just around the corner, but that is certainly not a decision for UTAG to take. It is for management of the various institutions to take. But of course, it's an unwritten rule that after 21 days without serious activity, then of course students may have to be asked out of the institutions.
Meanwhile, education sector think tank Africa Education Watch has raised concerns on the posture of government in the negotiation process with UTAG. Research analyst with EduWatch, Mr. Divine Pay, said government has not demonstrated enough commitment towards resolving the impasse to enable them to return to the lecture hall.
We are worried about the posture of government in all this issue. The picture is painting, or is the reality that government is not committed to meeting the demand or even meeting UTAG halfway on their demand. And when I say government, I'm not talking about the current government alone. I'm talking about successive governments, because this is an issue that has been hanging since 2008. So for me, government has not demonstrated enough commitment to meet the union, the university teacher union, halfway even. And that is the point that we should be worried about.
How about UTAG and their stance? What do you think of the stance they've taken, deciding not to back down at all?
As much as we worried about the fact that teaching and learning have been affected in the tertiary institutions, and the students are the ultimate losers, and we advocate for quality education, would have wished that school is ongoing. But the fact is, if you force teachers into the classroom without dealing with their situation, condition of service, it can also be counterproductive. So we won't support you again. So they should go to the classroom and then just compromise with government. We are equally worried about condition of teachers, because they need to have the best conditions to give out their best to the students. So we empathize with the students, but we also want to understand the position of UTAG this time as well.
Still in the education sector, but this time around at the basic level, because the sector minister, Dr. Yao Saidichum, says stakeholder consultations are ongoing for the introduction of gifted and talented education at the senior high school level in the country. This category of education will pay particular attention to students with high IQ compared to their peers and build on their knowledge to help solve the country's socioeconomic challenges. At a media briefing in Accra, Dr. Adichim said the program has proved successful in some countries.
Research has identified that 10% of every population is gifted or talented. 10%. So some countries have capitalized on that, Hong Kong, United States, South Korea, and said, hey, if this 10% have natural born traits and research to show that they are talented or gifted, why don't we give them special attention so that they will be the ones that will innovate and develop our nation? And those countries that have done that have seen innovation going through the roof. These are talented, gifted individuals just sitting there and saying, can you help me? Can you allow my talent to come out so that I can help this nation? And because you are not doing this in the classroom, I'm stepping out, I'm going to do my solar-powered bike just from my head. So imagine if somebody was guiding him. That student will have developed something even more advanced than the solar-powered bike. That is where education should be, and stakeholder consultations are ongoing, consulting many people with great ideas in that space to ensure that we can come to a point that we have GATE schools, and we have GATE programs in our schools, and children are being supported to bring about innovation.
Now, still in the education sector, of course, the GATE program has proven to be successful in some jurisdictions. Some also are of the view that it's not going to help us at this current level of our education. But let's broaden this conversation because we've been joined by Mr. Peter Partey-Ante, who is the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon. If you can help us appreciate your thoughts on this introduction or proposal by the Sector Minister.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. Yeah, I think it's one of the brilliant ideas that always come out in the education sector. I think that it's true that over the years we have not been able to pay particular attention to students who are gifted. It's true also that even in the same class, we have not been able to successfully implement differentiation as a method of teaching. So normally we are teaching tilted towards the average class, and those who are very weak and those who are extremely good are always left wanting. And I think that is why we would have to pay special attention to gifted kids. But it is one thing having these ideas and sharing it with the general public, and it's another thing producing a comprehensive policy paper on that idea, and then allowing policy analysts in the education sector scrutinize the ideas that you have placed on paper so that they can fine-tune these ideas and help with the implementation process. So, in as much as I would want to commend the ministry for trying to come out with something like this, I would want to say that in many instances, we have had these brilliant ideas coming out from the managers of our education. But at the end of the day, we have not been able to implement it fully to reap the benefit of these policies, simply because, one, we do not allow enough scrutiny of these brilliant ideas, and then two, we have always faltered with implementation challenges. And that is what might be the biggest challenge of this brilliant idea. If the ministry would open up, and I know they are doing consultation, but if they will open up broadly, they would put these ideas on paper and share it with the general public so that everybody can contribute to whatever final policy document that they would want to put out. I think we'll be able to reap the benefits of this idea.
Well, there have been a lot of talks since the announcement by the minister about this proposal. One of the concerns raised is the fact that it may widen the inequality gap if we are going to give special attention to the so-called gifted students.
One is it's because of how you implement this. So
if I understand, and this boils down to my point of putting some of these things on paper and then sharing it to the general public. I happen to be at the 2021 National Education Week, and I heard this being mentioned. The next time I heard it was yesterday when the minister also mentioned it. So I think it's something that they have in mind what they want to do, but it is important that they put these ideas on paper and let those in the sector read and appreciate the point that they are coming from, so that some of these fears and concerns might be addressed if these papers are put out. You see, you cannot keep some of these ideas in your head and think that somebody will understand where you want to take the education to. Put them out, because when it comes to education, everybody is a stakeholder. You have a brother, you have a sister in school, I have a kid in school, all of us, we have a stake in the education system. So you conceive an idea as the manager of my education system, put it on paper, and let the people get to know and appreciate where you are coming from. That is what is lacking with the educational policies in this country. So I think that the concerns are genuine, although I feel that if it is implemented well, we will not have these challenges, because it is not going to be like you are not going to pay attention when you did gifted kids, but you also have to provide the needed resources for all the other kids that are left in the normal school, traditional school system, and this can be done. So I would appeal to the ministry and to the minister that some of these ideas need to be put on paper and shared. And if they have put it on paper, then to share it. Nobody will copy those ideas. We will just contribute to the enrichment of these ideas as has been shared by them. That is what we do in all advanced countries. I don't know why the ministry always wants to keep rich information to their chest, as if they put it out there, somebody will copy. It is not helping them with policy discussion and policy discourse processes.
Very finally, what do you make also of the concern that this will place further pressure on the kids as they scramble to impress their parents, to compete with their colleagues in the classrooms?
So one, it will depend on how the selection process would be done. Okay, so if we have a standard process of selecting these kids, of course, you will know that these kids would have to fit a specific criteria before they qualify to be selected. I don't think that if a student doesn't make the mark, there's no way that he or she is going to put pressure on the parents. And once again, it boils down to how did they conceive this idea? What is it that they really want to do? To put it out there for everybody to read. These questions might be answered. If they're not answered, they would help them in shaping the policy.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Peter Antepata is the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies, and has been helping us to appreciate some of the new proposals by the Education Minister. Now let's move on to one of the most controversial issues in the country in the past month or two, the e-levy. Because what justification for the introduction of the e-levy is to widen the tax net to cover the informal sector. Government says it is a convenient means to increase revenue. However, many, including the minority in Parliament, have opposed the e-levy, saying it will further burden Ghanaians and affect the country's digitization agenda. On GBC News Current Affairs Talking Points, the Deputy Minister for Information, Madam Fatima Abubakar, reiterated the government's position, arguing that the e-levy is an innovative solution to expanding the tax nets.
Characteristic of an Akufo-Addo-led government to introduce taxes to burden the Ghanaian. I realized that between 2017 to 2019, the economy that was growing by 3.6% in the year 2016 grew on the average for that period, pre-COVID, by 7.1%. Then COVID struck. What COVID did to the Ghanaian economy, and like many other economies in the world, is that you need resources to take care of your expenditure. We budget is either you are raising the resources domestically, or you are going to borrow, or you are going cap in hand begging, or you are going to IMF. So basically, these are the options that are available to most governments around the world. Or you cut your expenditure. We intend to do more consultations. But the issue is that we have always mentioned that the budget or expenditure of governments, so far as this administration is concerned, has so much to do about our social mobility, our social intervention for the downtrodden, and to get support for all of us to grow together. So of course, if you look at sector by sector, the kind of expenditures that you will see in those sectors will be more than whatever commitment that the previous government has made.
We are opposed to it because if I give you dog money, or if you've gone to borrow money and I'm one of your board directors or members, if I cannot see what you're doing with the money, I have the right to say, this one, I will not support you with. Our concern is that what I thought is here, that is swallowing a lot of our taxes. We are saying that they have borrowed so much money, they raise a lot of revenue, even the COVID they are blaming for everything. Dog, they had a lot of money. We are saying that we can cut down on expenditure. They use our taxes to do things that are uncalled for. They should reduce the losses at the assembly and everything. So what I'm trying to say is that they don't deserve this. We have given.
There are mixed feelings to the passage of the proposed e-levy introduced by the government in the 2020 budget. However, a majority of the people who spoke with GBC News at Kumasi in Ashanti region are asking the government to intensify public education on the advantages of the levy. Others also called for a review of the proposed levy, especially in the hard times of COVID-19.
Taxing, for as long as I know, every nation, I think, will have to tax its citizens to be able to survive and to be able to do development for the citizenry. And when we travel outside to go to other countries, we know that they tax for them to be self-sufficient so that they can take care of themselves. Ghana, as I know, we are kind of hand to mouth. Whatever we generate, we almost spend all. So I think it's another good means of trying to generate more money so that all the infrastructure that we're looking for, the roads, the schools and hospitals that we are looking for, we could be able to get money internally.
I think Ghana, we are struggling as a country, and charging us additional amount on the mobile transactions, I think is preposterous. It's very bad, and so the government should reconsider and do away completely with the e-levy, because Ghana, we are not strong enough as a country, and even the salaries people receive is very, very, very down below the ladder. And so when we are charged additional cost on electronic transactions, I think it will be something that will not help us at all.
Mobile money needs to say a tax dada. Me send this kakra, me send it 200 cedis. I tell me 2 cedis. And yes, yes, and the BMU barbe can. And me na madune and che me say the bane de nye moye. Tibeya no de yen free okra na de ye ti ho kakra kakra no. Ye nya ne kakra kakra nta.
Etuo de o man no sebisi tenase ne ka se jituo de ayo man na sebi obi anya Father Christmas ono ade ne botum sika ebeye o man no. Nanka ne papa mu de nkeye. Nanso so yen hwe de eko. Like obetu ato no but mfaso bi ani wa obinya no so. So my papa no betu ato no faso bia no tikete na nka de se ye de ama o man no se bi yaye amana ye kamade a fine nke ye na nso so ye no ye nyina ani ehunu bi at my age ye hunu bi since then no ye hunu faso bia.
I think that there has to be a lot of stakeholder consultation, because many citizens do not understand what the e-levy is all about. And then also there are a lot of literate and then illiterates in the system. So government will have to do a lot of consultation before coming to the implementation of the e-levy. My understanding is that even a lot of the telcos do not even know how they are even going to implement this e-levy.
Yeah. Ama obani mpuntu akoso because of say yo kruma ni padodo na ni ntua tax
majority of any pay tax secretary. Me tax. Mintua tax. Sabano and who power befaso. No wajet Amiam or mining puntu a con kind dear. We support to set the bayag. Ghana, ya quine, the mantima at twist scene and a band bit me.
Well, government officials continue engagement on the electronic transaction levy with the hope of getting the general public to better understand the rationale for its proposal. On GTV's Breakfast on Monday, Deputy Majority Leader Mr. Alexander Fenyo-Markin insisted that the biggest pushback from the public stems from the fear that the funds may not be properly accounted for, as has been the case with some levies in the past. The Member of Parliament for Fitu also allayed fears that the e-levy is going to collapse the mobile money business.
We are in charge of government business, and it's also our duty to ensure that we get this done. We've been engaging each other. At least we now know that e-levy is no more 1.75. It is 1.5. We also know that government negotiated with the telcos, and the telcos have brought it down by 0.25. So all put together, and in real terms, we are now going to pay 1.25. The net effect is that what government is going to take, or what Ghanaians are going to pay, will be 1.25.
Which is 0.50 less than what you suggested.
No, more than that. Because we said 1.75. And they were already paying 1%, 1%, 2%. So it was going to be 3.75. What I'm saying now is that government has come down to 1.5.
And the telcos are down as well.
The telcos have also come down by 0.25. So put together, you are talking about how much you are spending. So I'm saying that in real terms, we are going to pay 1.25 levy. That's the point I want to put across. All right. These have come as a result of all the debate and the fact that government was listening. Okay? It tells you that government would not just shut its door and say that I don't care. But we still have to talk. After all, this is democracy. We still have to talk. So that is why we are talking. And that is why I'm optimistic that if we get to a certain point, the levy would have to pass. Our friends have indicated that they are not ready to share political risk. And I agree. Fine. We should take political responsibility. We will take that political responsibility. However, the game changer would be our ability to demonstrate to Ghanaians that, look, we didn't take the money for the sake of taking it. We didn't abuse it, but whatever we got, this is it. We show.
In some of the day's other stories, work has begun on the construction of a retaining wall around the dangerously exposed power transmission pylon at Brokrom Estate in Kumasi. Even though the management of the electricity company and Volta River Authority insist the project was awarded on contract late last year to address the problem, some residents of Brokrom Estate believe it is a swift response to a recent viral video with commentary highlighting the danger posed by the situation, which is in circulation.
For some weeks now, a video with commentary in Twi has been circulating on various social media platforms, drawing attention to the perceived danger posed by power transmission pylon or high-tension cables located near a transformer at the outskirts of the airport's estates, commonly called Brokrom Estate, in the National North sub-metro of the Kumasi metropolis. In the video, it is clear that the concrete base of the high-tension pylon has been eroded by flood waters and water from a nearby stream. GBC News caught up with the originator of the viral video, Isaac Fosuhene, who explained that he did the video with other concerned residents of the locality to draw the attention of the authorities to the danger posed by the situation.
The way everywhere as we are about, we are being found the other. Dan say, you see, not yes, none more. Why, no, oh, we send our condolence for this impossible human lives, and I say, so, and then I'm sure, Mom, yes, I am.
Following the viral video, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, issued a press statement confirming the situation but rejecting the impression created by the commentator in the video that the state of the high-tension pylon posed danger to people living around it. The statement nonetheless assured the public that steps would be taken to correct the problem. On Sunday, 28th January 2022, when GBC News visited the location of the said high-tension pylon, a contractor had mobilized at the site and work was going on. The contractor, Mr. Emmanuel Wiafe, told GBC News that the project was supposed to have been undertaken in September last year, but the intensity of the rains compelled the authorities to reschedule it to the dry season.
Business is only paying other bits back the tower. You see, I said, it's in the war. I brought down
Mr. Wiafi gave the assurance that power supply to the beneficiary communities would not be interrupted during the period of the project. The assembly member for the Buokrom Estate electoral area, Mr. Kwame Ajamai, commended UCG and the VRA for giving the problem an urgent attention. He also thanked the authorities for dredging the heavily silted stream nearby, which floods the main road each time it rains, and for clearing the bush in the area, which has become a den for criminals who have been attacking passers-by in the night. The originator of the viral video, Mr. Isaac Fosuhene, was also happy his social media initiative had yielded results.
We take you to the Western region, where the Ghana Mine Workers Union is calling for an intensive and sustained education on safety for communities in and around mining enclaves. The union, led by its General Secretary on a tour of the communities affected by the explosion, said safety consciousness among the people is critical for them to take precautionary measures against avoidable accidents.
The Apiati disaster, which led to the loss of lives and the destruction of the community, has brought in its wake the importance of safety education, particularly for people living in and around communities with extractive industries. The usage of hazardous materials and explosives, which are key in the operations of such companies, expose residents to risks when there are no effective safety measures in place. The Ghana Mine Workers Union is urging mining companies and their service providers to extend intensive and sustain the safety education in their host communities.
We believe that all the relevant institutions, more particularly the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission, must up its game. We expect that they should extend their services not just to the communities in and around these mining companies. At least if communities had basic training in health and safety, we are pretty confident that no such incident, even if it happened at all, would register such colossal impact that we saw.
The General Secretary of the Union, Mr. Abdul Mumibana, on behalf of the Union, presented 40,000 Ghana cedis for the purchase of 800 bags of cement to the displaced persons at Apiati and their contribution to the rebuilding efforts. The Ghana Manganese Company, GMC, also presented relief items as well as medical supplies and building materials worth 80,000 Ghana cedis to support the disaster victims. The Social Responsibility and External Relations Manager of GMPC is Mr. Wisdom Ajiminsa.
It's an unfortunate incident and people are displaced, people are injured, some have lost their loved ones, and items are scattered. And to try to stabilize these people, emotionally, for them to, it's not easy. So it's something that no money company would wish that it happens. And I believe that going forward, effort to be put in place to ensure that whatever the case may be, we carry our work safely so that communities don't get injured.
The MCE for Prestia Winnie Valley Municipality, Mr. Isaac Dasmani, commended donors for their gesture.
The Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service have officially launched the National COVID-19 Vaccination Days in Accra. Officials say the campaign is critical to reducing hesitancy and will timely improve on vaccine uptake to achieve the initial target of 20 million persons fully vaccinated by mid-2022. The vaccination days begin from Wednesday 2nd to Sunday, February 2022 and continues thereafter with a target dose of 2.5 million in 5 days.
Currently, Ghana is rolling out vaccination exercises among the general public, and by the National Immunization Technical Group recommendation, the vaccination exercise has been expanded to include persons from 15 years and above, as well as pregnant women as a girl. Furthermore, the country, with the support from partners, have expanded cold chain facilities to ensure that these vaccines are safely kept, including support on ultra-negative freezers to store Pfizer vaccines. Working with FDA, we have strengthened and made robust adverse event monitoring system to ensure vaccine safety for the population. Healthcare workers, persons with underlying medical conditions, persons who are 60 years and above, frontline security personnel, and members of the executive, judiciary, and the legislature are expected to have the booster vaccination, which I have done mine already.
It's still News Hour live on GBC News and on GTV. We are streaming live on Facebook at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We go for a break. When we return, Dorothy Ajman will be telling you something about the monetary policy rate because the Bank of Ghana has just issued a release. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Andrea. COVID-19 is real. I'm vaccinated, and I'm pleading with all Ghanaians to also get vaccinated.
Good afternoon and welcome. Time now for the business segment, and I am Dorothy Achimai. With inflation headwinds above the Bank of Ghana's target of 8 plus or minus, coupled with the rise in crude oil prices and its knock-on effect on transportation in the country, the Monetary Policy Committee has maintained the policy rate at 14.5%. On fiscal policy and then sustainability, the central bank, the MPC, was upbeat that the 20% cut in expenditure in the 2022 budget will help provide for some correction, including avoiding macroeconomic imbalances and deepening the fiscal consolidation. The total public debt stock in November 2021 stood at 344.5 billion cedis, which is 78.4% of GDP. Gross international reserves at the December 2021 was $9.7 billion as against $6.6 billion for 4 months import covering December 2020. The strong reserve position provided buffer for the cedi, which lost in value against the dollar by 4.1% and 3.1% against the pound sterling. On the outlook, the business sentiments among industry players are bullish and almost near the pre-pandemic levels, and private sector credit growth steadily picking up but remains negative in real terms. Petroleum prices are expected to increase at various pumps across the country in the first pricing window for February. According to the Institute for Energy Security, the impending price increases could see all major oil marketing companies crossing the 7 Ghana cedi per litre mark for gas oil and gasoline.
The Institute for Energy Security says the impending increases are the result of an upsurge in the price of crude oil on the international market. The forthcoming increase is expected in spite of the suspension of the price stabilization and recovery levy. The increases also come on the back of an 8.52% increase in the price of Brent crude, a 5.5% rise in LPG price, a 6.23% increase in price of gasoline, and 9.86% jump in gasoline price, all on the international oil and fuel markets. The Institute said further depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar on the foreign exchange market adds on to the factors that will push up the prices of the commodities on the local market. During the last pricing window 2 weeks ago, some OMCs sold a litre of fuel at the 7 Ghana cedis mark for the first time across the country, although most of them stayed below the mark. Currently, the national average price for petrol is pegged at 6.90 Ghana cedis per litre, while that of diesel stands at 6.98 Ghana cedis per litre.
So for more on this topic, we have on the line a research analyst at the Institute for Energy Security, Mr. Fritz Moses. Good to have you join us, sir.
Thanks for having me.
By what margin should we expect prices of petrol and petroleum products go up in this pricing window?
Yeah, so we expect that there will be an addition of about 10% at least on the price, so that that is if the price stabilization and recovery levy is not reintroduced. However, if it should be reintroduced in the price board, as we expect government to looking at stable communication for the period from last month suspension, that then the increment would be about 25 pesos addition on the price board.
Right. You know, last week some OMCs were selling about the 7 cedi mark. Is it possible the prices could go up further?
Yes, certainly. We are looking at a situation where majority of the OMCs that we currently have operating would push their prices beyond 7 cedis if it should have an addition of about 25 pesos. Of course, that would mean that the price stabilization and recovery levy is introduced. What we currently see is that many OMCs are selling around 80 pesos, 85 pesos. Those have some selling as low as 60 pesos for Benab oil and some around 60 to 70 pesos. We expect that the 2 cedi 50 pesos addition would necessarily push prices of diesel particularly up to the 7 cedi figure at the various pumps.
So with the causative factors for this increase, what steps do you think government should take to reduce the impact of the price increase on Ghanaians?
We think that the first thing that the government can do is to reconsider its decision to reintroduce the price stabilization and recovery levy in the price board at this time. At the end of the day, what we would see, as I stated earlier, is prices rising in most of the OMCs above 7 cedis per litre at the pumps. Temporarily, these are the things that we think government can look at to reduce the impact of this increment that we are expecting.
Right, we will have to end here, sir. Thank you so much for your time. That was the research analyst with the Institute of Energy Security, Mr. Fritz Moses, discussing with us possible price increase in petrol and petroleum products. Uta says a consultant has been hired to work out the modalities for Ghana Traders Bank To be established and operated by GUTA, the specialized bank will deal with the difficult challenge of high interest rates that most Ghanaian entrepreneurs face. Speaking to GBC News, the Greater Accra president of GUTA, Mr. Kwabena Prepra, clarified the bank would become operational before the end of this year.
Ghana's informal sector forms about 90% of the country's employment chain. Unfortunately, majority of these entrepreneurs or business people have difficulty accessing credit from financial institutions. This is what makes it necessary for a special traders bank to be established. Last year, the national president of GUTA hinted that the association, together with the Ministry of Trade, the Bank of Ghana, and other stakeholders were in talks to establish the Ghana Traders Bank. According to the Greater Accra president of GTA, Mr. Kwabena Prepra, who is also a national executive member of the association, said plans are far advanced with the establishment of the bank. He says a consultant has been hired to work on the modalities for the project, which should be delivered before the end of the year.
We have employed a consultant. We are working with him. We have reached some stages. We hope that we will conclude everything, and then maybe by next year we will see the bank running.
Meanwhile, GUTA, in partnership with LCB Worldwide, has taken its nationwide market fumigation to Cape Coast, fumigating all major markets in the Cape Coast municipality. Already, some markets in the Greater Accra region and Koforidua have benefited from the exercise. The Central Regional Chairman of GUTA said the fumigation will help protect traders from the COVID-19.
You're still watching the business segment of News Hour. The Ghana Enterprises Agency, GA, has started disbursing the third phase of the COVID-19 response grant here in Accra. 7 million Ghana cedis will be received by over 70 beneficiaries who qualified out of the 21,000 applicants. The COVID-19 response grant was set up by the government and the World Bank to support small and medium enterprises to recover from the effects of COVID-19 and to give a new lease of life to their operations.
Impacts around the world has really impacted negatively and in some cases positively for various MSMEs. So through government's intervention, funding was made available to support MSMEs. We started with the 600 million CAP business support, where we supported over 300,000 and got support from other partners such as MasterCard Foundation and others, to be able to accelerate the growth of SMEs, to ensure that they are able to have enough requisite support to be able to create employment and also strengthen and transform the economy. Government negotiated with the World Bank and together came up with access to finance component to support these businesses, especially under the COVID era. Over the past few months, we've been creating the opportunity to actually go into these businesses to do an assessment. We opened a portal, over 8,000 businesses applied. Out of that, 4,000 were within the range of the small and medium enterprises. And we went in to do further assessment of those that we had in, keeping in mind those who had passed, those who had also were already, those who had the potential to create employment. And today we're here. What we did in the current stage was to do the analysis, and over 70 plus businesses are receiving upwards of close to 7 million Ghana cedis to build. In total, for this COVID response grant, 373 businesses have benefited actually.
Let's have the interbank rates and some commodity prices. And that's it for the business segment. The news continues after this break. Please just stay.
Thank you so much for staying with us. On the global front, a team from the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, will be in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, on Monday to assess the situation in the country. It comes a week after some military officers toppled the government of elected President Roch Kabore. The ECOWAS ministerial level mission will be joined by a UN delegation led by the head of the UN's Office for West Africa and the Sahel, Mohamed Saleh Anadif. The joint team will hold talks with the Lieutenant Colonel Paul Damiba-led junta, as well as various Burkina-based actors. An in-person ECOWAS summit is planned for Thursday in Ghana for further deliberations on the situation. Leaders of the regional body held a virtual emergency meeting on Friday where they suspended the country's membership from the regional bloc. There appears to be a troubling resurgence of coup in West Africa, with Burkina Faso being the third country after Mali and Guinea in the past year. Now, the president of Malawi has warned against corruption in the country. The warning was issued during a speech on Sunday to mark the swearing-in of the new government. Now,